I'll pull up and show you guys what they said about this, because this is in my opinion, a total fucking victory. Massive fucking victory.
Supreme Court has delivered a monumental victory for the Constitution, the separation of powers, and the rule of law in striking down the excessive use of nationwide injunctions to interfere with the normal functioning of the executive branch. The Supreme Court has stopped the presidency itself. That's what they've done.
Yep.
And really, it's been an amazing period of time this last hour. There are people elated all over the country. I've seen such happiness and spirit. Sometimes you don't see that, but this case is very important. I was elected on a historic mandate, but in recent months we've seen a handful of radical left judges effectively try to overrule the rightful powers of the president.
And I think this is another component, is that if you take a step back and you think about it, doesn't it seem problematic that one judge in one area can overrule the entire, popular vote of the presidential election? This seems like a very obvious power imbalance. It's clearly, it should not work that way.
Stop the American people from getting the policies that they voted for in record numbers. It was a grave threat to democracy, frankly, and instead of merely ruling on the
That's what I think is funny, is all these people said Trump was a threat to democracy, but in fact they were. This is the biggest threat to democracy you can have. When you have a democratic election and then the person that wins tries to implement the policies that they ran on, and they constantly get handicapped.
Cases before them, these judges attempted to dictate the law for the entire nation.
Yep.
In practice, this meant that if any one of the nearly 700 federal judges disagreed with the policy of a duly elected president of the United States, he or she could block that policy from going into effect, or at least delay it for many years, tie it up in the court system.
That's clearly what happened.
This was a colossal abuse of power which never occurred in American history prior to recent decades. And we've been hit with more nationwide injunctions than were issued in the entire 20th century.
Wow.
Together. Think of it, more than the entire 20th century. Me. I'm grateful to the Supreme Court for stepping in and solving this very, very big and complex problem, and they've made it very simple. I want to thank Justice Barrett, who wrote the opinion brilliantly, as well as Chief Justice Roberts, and Justices Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Thomas. Great people. Thanks for this decision, and thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis. And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation. This was...
I've been waiting on this for a while. I've been waiting on this for a long time. Oh.
In fact, it was the same date, the exact same date, the end of the Civil War. It was meant for the babies of slaves, and it's so clean and so obvious.
It was.
But this lets us...
That's literally what I said. Yep. The thing is that, again, Trump is a scammer. He can immediately see a scam. Yeah, it's an obvious fucking scam.
Go there and finally win that case, because hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason. It was meant for the babies of slaves. So thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with these numerous policies and those that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other...
How the fuck did that even happen in the first place? It's so ridiculous.
Priorities of the American people.
Thank God.
We have so many of them.
Holy
I have a whole list.
shit.
I'm not going to bore you, and I'm going to have Pam get up and say a few words, but there's really, she can talk as long as she wants, because this is a very important decision. This is a decision that covers a tremendous amount of territory. But I want to just thank again the Supreme Court for this ruling. It's a giant. It's a giant. And they should be very proud, and our country should be very proud of the Supreme Court today. And with that, I'd like you to listen to the words of Pam Bondi. She's an incredible Attorney General. We're very proud of her. And as you know,
except for the Epstein
is with
files,
us, and we have
not so
many others
those
that worked on this case and other cases. And I think they're doing a great job. Pam, please say a few words.
Thank you, President Trump. Thank you for fighting for all Americans. Americans are finally getting what they voted for. No longer will we have rogue judges striking down President Trump's policies across the entire nation. No longer.
Obvious fucking export.
Today,
So
in the
obvious.
6-3 opinion, Justice Barrett correctly holds that the
Thank
district
God.
court lacks authority to enter nationwide or universal injunctions. These lawless injunctions gave relief to everyone in the world instead of the parties before the court. As the Supreme Court held today, they turned district courts into the imperial judiciary. Active liberal judges have used these injunctions to block virtually all of President Trump's policies. To put this in perspective, there are 94 federal judicial districts. 5 of those districts throughout this country held 35 of the nationwide injunctions.
That seems a little bit problematic, you know what I mean? Seems a little bit undemocratic.
Think about that. 94 districts and 35 out of the 40 opinions with nationwide injunctions came from 5 liberal districts in this country. No
Remember
longer.
what I always said?
No longer. These
A very small
injunctions have
percentage of
blocked our
people cause all
policies
the
from
problems.
tariffs to military readiness to immigration to foreign affairs, fraud, abuse, and many other issues. The judges have tried to seize the executive branch's power, and they cannot do that. No longer. No longer. And on immigration, on a side note, today marks 2,711 arrests on these terrorists and these gangs. Total arrest today with HSI investigations. And thank you, Stephen Miller. Thank you to Homeland Security. Thank you to everyone working hand in hand with the FBI on all of these transnational gangs. TDA has been a huge terror to our country, as well as MS-13, as well as Sinaloa cartels.
Stephen Miller?
No longer.
That guy didn't fuck
no
around.
No longer. These injunctions have allowed district court judges to be emperors. They vetoed all of President Trump's power, and they cannot do that. This has been a bipartisan
$2K per week,
problem. It has lasted 5 presidential terms, 5 different presidents, and it has ended
What's
today.
crazy, too, about this is that it happened right now, which means that they have 3 years to just go absolutely fucking hog wild. 3 years of them just being able to post whatever the fuck and do whatever the fuck they want. That's massive.
We will continue to fight for President Trump's policies. I want to thank the Office of White House Counsel, Dave Warrington. You and your staff have been incredible. Our Solicitor General's office, John Sowers, Sarah Harris, and Todd Blanche and Emil Bovey. Todd's going to say a few words because we've had another major ruling today on transgender books and some other great wins that we've had. But no
transgender books? What the fuck is wrong? Like, we have homeless veterans and people are thinking about transgender. Who the fuck is doing this?
No longer will they have this power in our country. It is the president's authority under his executive branch to do everything to fight for the American people, and he will continue to do that. That's why he was overwhelmingly elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, today's a great day for the rule of law. It's a great day for the Justice Department.
Let's hear it.
And it's one that's been a long time coming, and one that every American should have been waiting for with bated breath. And so I echo what the President said and Attorney General Bondi, that the Supreme Court did a great thing today, not only for this administration.
It's rage bait. They make mountains out of molehills. No, the transgender ideology stuff is not a mountain out of a molehill. It's basically a molehill that people are just fixated on. I know that it's a very small issue, but I would view it in the same way as I view flat Earth. The reality is that if I knew somebody believed in flat Earth, that would completely disqualify them, in my mind, from being a decision maker for anything else, because their decision-making faculties have been compromised. And I think transgender is another good example of that, especially whenever it comes to minors and it comes to sports. What it really is it's a benchmark of this person is this delusional that they think this thing that is so far removed from reality that it provides a frame of reference that this person cannot be allowed to operate and be expected to operate as a rational actor. It's illogical. It's completely illogical. That's the reason why the transgender issue matters so much. It's like people who believe the Earth is 6,000 years old, or people that believe it's flat, or people that believe that there's like lizards living in the center of the Earth and they're the ones controlling everybody here. Like, these ideals are just so batshit crazy stupid that they provide a frame of reference that disqualifies that type of a person from having the opinion on anything else.
Or every American in this country. If not for the injunctions case, we would be here talking about another great decision that came down today.
It's an indication of broken
case,
logic.
which
yes.
restores parents' rights to decide their child's education. Seems like a basic idea, but it took the Supreme Court to set the record straight, and we thank them for that. And now that ruling allows parents to opt out of dangerous trans ideology and make the decisions for their children that they believe is correct. And so we think
they should not be teaching transgenderism in anything other than maybe the last year of high school. Children should not be getting exposed to transgender ideology. The reason why is because it creates a false dichotomy. If gender is truly a spectrum, then why is every person who doesn't immediately completely identify with their gender that they were born with, why is it that the only solution to that is being trans? Like, we used to have tomboys, we have femboys. There's a lot of people on the spectrum of gender. Being trans is very different than being a masculine female or being a feminine male. It's a totally different thing. Should I be deported? Maybe. Maybe. What is it here? Why is it an issue? You think every person born in America had legal parents for many times should be deported? No, I don't think they should apply it retroactively. I get that you're getting your feelings hurt about this. As opposed to don't just side with this. But yeah, no, I mean, if your parents came over here illegally, they should have deported your parents and you shouldn't have gotten citizenship. Like, obviously, like, it already happened, so it's hard to, like, revoking citizenship is something I feel like would be very problematic, especially it's like, how are we going to do that? But, like, it should have never happened in the first place. And I'm not going to, like, retroactively go back 50 years and punish you because of something that your grandparents did. No. I mean, kids don't have a choice where they're born. Yeah, but that doesn't matter. I mean, why would that matter? So the kids don't have a choice, so that means we just have to take every kid, every person that has a kid here? That's stupid. How is that in the best interest of Americans? It's not. It's an emotional argument. It's not worth taking seriously.
For that. There's been multiple decisions over the past several weeks that just show why this nationwide injunction ban had to happen. Mm-hmm. For example, what I mean by that is local district court judges issuing decisions that are clearly contrary to law just because they don't like the policy of President Trump. And when it gets to the Supreme Court has to correct it. But that takes time. The Attorney General thanked our lawyers, and I'll do it again. Our lawyers are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to fight these injunctions and to emergency appeals, emergency stays, going back to the district court judge, asking them to change their view. And so their hard work is really paying off today. But
Someone's saying compassion is bad. It is whenever it allows you to justify putting people that you are responsible at risk or doing something that works against their best interests. I think that compassion for bad actors is actually cruelty. And so when you're talking about like compassion for everybody around the world, you can't really apply that. You can't do that. There's a limit. Yeah, there's no, like, again, it's an emotional argument. It's not worth taking seriously. Weaponized empathy is bad. Yeah, don't let people weaponize your empathy against you to make you subvert your own goals. This is what people love to do. They love to they love to try to emotionally manipulate you into doing something that's against your best interests. Don't let anybody do that.
Past few weeks, we had a stay of an order that prevented DHS from moving aliens to a third country. We had a stay of an order that stopped the Department of Defense from implementing military readiness, the EO that President Trump signed. We had another stay of an order forcing reinstatement of fired executive branch employees entirely within the president in Article 2, his right to do. We had a stay of, as you all know, of numerous DOJ cases. And again, every one of those stays requires a tremendous amount of work and effort by the lawyers and parties involved, and they should be doing other work. They should be doing the work that the president and this administration demands and has a right to demand, and not fighting these local judges who don't make decisions based on the law. They make decisions because they just simply don't agree with the administration's decision about a policy, and that's wrong.
I think that's a very good point. Is like the entire premise that the judicial branch is completely unbiased is completely untrue. If that was true, then you wouldn't have people that are arguing about which president gets to appoint which judge to the Supreme Court. It obviously is something that matters.
Thank you.
And by the way, these people also love to complain about activist judges whenever Kyle Rittenhouse was declared innocent. Do you remember that? They were really mad that judge was biased. So, I mean, there's precedent for this with everybody.
Any questions?
Oh, here we go.
Yes, for Pam, please.
Go ahead. Sure. Thank you, Madam Attorney General. So, as you know, the Supreme Court did not rule on the underlying constitutionality of the President's birthright citizenship order. So, what is the plan now? Are you going to try to implement the EO just in states where there isn't a legal challenge?
Yes, so birthright citizenship will be decided in October in the next session by the Supreme Court, unless it comes down in the next few minutes. I guess it could come down. I think they're still deliberating right now on some cases. As you heard, we just got transgender books, which is a huge win. But most likely, that will be decided in October in the next session. However, it indirectly impacts us because, as you correctly pointed out, if there's a birthright citizenship case in Oregon, it will only affect the plaintiff in Oregon, not the entire country. So yes, it's indirectly, but that's pending litigation, and we're waiting on that in the next term.
And how concerned are you that the Supreme Court will come back and determine that the executive order is unconstitutional?
Oh, we're very confident in the Supreme Court. But again, it's pending litigation, and that will directly be determined in October, but it indirectly impacts every case in this country, and we're thrilled with their decision today. Peter.
Madam Attorney General, thank you for being here to take our questions. A couple questions to the both of you. The EO has a 30-day grace period before it goes into effect. Is there any thought about trying to make it effective immediately within that period of time?
We're going to follow the law.
There's no reason to do that. If they've got the border closed already, the people can't even come in and take advantage of the 30-day grace period, so it's not even a problem. And the people that do, it'll be like 12 people that do it. It won't even matter.
We're going to make those decisions, and we're going to do what's right in the bounds of the law.
Yeah, I'm just being honest.
And the DOJ didn't ask the justices to rule on the merits of the birthright citizenship ban. Just for explanation purposes, why?
Sure, because that's going to come down in October in the separate. This was huge because it's indirectly impacted today. As I said, it's case by case. Let me reiterate, of the 35 of the 40 nationwide injunctions filed against this president, against his executive authority as President of the United States, 35 of them came from Maryland, D.C., Massachusetts, California, Washington. I mean, that's crazy.
I could easily expect that. So out of all 40 of them, 35 came from 5 out of 94. What a total fucking power imbalance. That's crazy.
These 5 districts. So yes, it indirectly impacts us. It will be a separate decision in October. Next question.
Thank you, Mr. President. A question for you, sir. Do you believe this ends the power of the lower court judges to stop your agenda? Do you see this as a full green light for your agenda going forward?
Well, you'd have to really speak to the lawyers about that. But this is really also a decision based on common sense. It didn't work the other way. It was a disaster where somebody from a certain location in a very liberal state
Trump
or a liberal
is live soon? Is that true? No, this is something different.
Judge or a liberal group of judges could tie up a whole country for years because their decision would sometimes take years to overturn. We've overturned many of the decisions, but it would take years to do it. And we have to act quickly when it comes to illegal immigration. We have murderers, killers, we have drug dealers, we have what they've allowed to come into our country. Should never be forgotten. It should never be forgotten what they've done to our country, and we have to be able to act very quickly, and we're going to do that. Thank you.
Justice Amy Coney Barrett, sir, I know that you praised her and her opinion here in this case. She has taken some heat, though, from some of your supporters who have labeled her weak, a squishy, a rattled law professor. What is your take on that?
I don't know about that. I just have great respect for her. I always have.
I love how like she just basically puts out a bunch of these like insults that like she got from Twitter, and she's like says to the president, "Well, do you agree that she sucks?"
And her decision was brilliantly written today, from all accounts. Yeah.
Transgender rulings, Mr. President. What would you say to Americans who fear that this is more and more concentration of power in the White House and the executive?
Well, people voted for that in the White House. Logically, your argument makes perfect sense. Maybe try putting yourself in the shoes of someone in that specific scenario. Like an illegal immigrant child with citizenship may be difficult. Well, if they already have citizenship, I don't want to take it away. I just don't want it to happen anymore. I don't want to retroactively remove citizenship. I feel like that would be... like, where do you draw the line? Do you draw the line at under 18? Because I feel like 17 is basically the same thing as 18 in terms of like somebody being an adult. Like you could have a job at that point, right? Like I don't want to go and retroactively get rid of this, but I think you just need to stop, like turn off the water hose, right? I mean, you're not going to get rid of all the water, but you can at least fucking stop the spread of it. Yeah, you can't do it retroactively. Of course, I understand why people would be worried, but yeah, there's no way they're going to do it retroactively anyway. It's impossible. Like logistically, it's impossible.
The Constitution. This is what it's all about, and this is really the opposite of that. I mean, the question is fine, but it's the opposite. The Constitution
Alligator,
has been brought back.
Oh yeah, remind me of that.
Thank you so much, President Trump. Illegal crossings in the border are 0 now.
0.
Yeah, so that's the reason why it doesn't matter if it takes 30 days. Because there's not going to be a bunch of people coming in having this be a problem in the first place.
Hear that?
Yeah.
Trump 2028!
Do you intend, President Trump?
Who's that guy? I like him. He's working the cameras.
With this new reality.
Oh my fucking God. Even the camera guy is doing that? Wow.
President Trump in the border. Do you intend to engage personally with leaders from South America, not only Central America, in order to tackle this situation in a reasonable way? And if you have a perspective of meeting some presidents from South America, as Brazil, for example.
Well, you should, as an example, not South America, but NATO over the weekend. They have great respect for our country now. They did things that nobody thought was possible. They took funding from 2% to 5%. Nobody thought they'd ever pay the 2%, and now they're paying the 5%.
Wow.
It's over $1 trillion more a year. Think of that, $1 trillion. Nobody thought that could happen. That's a different group of people, different countries. But we get along with a lot of countries. We are respected again. Our country, the U.S., is respected again. Was not respected 6 months ago.
Man.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Mr. President, you have a deadline coming up on trade in 2 weeks. Which countries, if any, on trade, on tariffs, sir, which countries, if any, are close to agreements with the administration?
Well, that's an interesting question. We've made a deal with China. We've made a deal with...
You made a trade deal with China. Oh, boy.
Probably 4 or 5 different countries. With the UK, it was a great deal for both.
All right.
And we're in the process of making some others. But ultimately, in fact, Scott is here. And Howard Lutnick, these two guys have been doing an incredible job, and the people that work with them have been doing an incredible job. But, you know, we have 200 countries, you could say 200 countries plus. We can't do that. So at a certain point over the next week and a half or so, or maybe before, we're going to send out a letter. We talked to many of the countries, and we're just going to tell them what they have to pay to do business in the United States. And it's going to go very quickly. But some of the bigger countries, so India, I think we're going to reach a deal where we have the right to go in and trade. Right now it's restricted. You can't walk in there. You can't even think about it. We're looking to get a full trade barrier dropping, which is unthinkable. And I'm not sure that that's going to happen. But as of this moment, we've agreed to that, go into Indian trade. We're going to be trading in China. That's going to come a little bit down the road, but we're going to be trading in China. We have a lot of great things going, and we're getting along with countries, but some will be disappointed.
Isn't it crazy? Like, I feel like, I don't know, it seems like the tariffs kind of worked.
Because they're going to have to pay tariffs. And we've taken in already hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. No inflation. The only problem we have is we have a Fed guy that doesn't understand what's happening, and it would be great if he'd lower the rate because we'd be able to borrow a lot cheaper.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, go ahead, please. Why don't we keep it on this subject? This is such a big subject. You know what? Trade is so big, but this, I don't know, in a certain way, this might be bigger than trade. I think this is bigger than trade. Yes, please, go ahead.
I was wondering, though, if you could...
Go ahead.
Sir, on the transgender ruling, the Supreme Court ruling that parents with religious objections can pull their kids out of public school lessons that use LGBTQ.
I disagree with that. I don't think that it should be for a religious reason. I think that a parent... okay, so I disagree with this in two ways. Number one, I disagree with this because it should not even be taught in the first place. Number two, I disagree with this because I don't think that religion gives you a unique ability to not listen to something. I think any parent should be able to say that my kid shouldn't learn this. You shouldn't, like, religion is not a magic get out of jail free card. If this doesn't align with your ideology, then your kid shouldn't have to learn it. You shouldn't need a religion to say no. I agree with the principle, but you guys can see clearly what the difference is that I'm talking about.
Materials.
It's a great
your reaction to that ruling today.
This sets a precedent. It's a great step. I'm happy to see it, but I'm bringing up my point of view, and I think a lot of you guys agree with what I'm saying.
The ruling was a great ruling, and I think it's a great ruling for parents. It's really a ruling for parents. They lost control of the schools. They lost control of their child. And this is a tremendous victory for parents. And I'm not surprised by it, but I am surprised that it went this far. It took us to...
I am too. It was such a huge miscalculation to try to push trans stuff to kids. Massive miscalculation. I think it alienated a lot of people away from LGBT. And I think, honestly, the entire idea of LGBT and being transsexual, it shouldn't be involved with LGB. Being transsexual is how you see yourself. Being gay, lesbian, or bisexual is how you see other people. One of them is a sexual orientation. The other one is a gender identity. These are two very different things, and they should have never been combined in the first place. It's illogical. It doesn't make any sense.
Bring life back to normal. So wonderful. It's parental. And I kept saying, we will give you back your parental rights. God. They were taken away, and this is a tremendous victory for parents. Yeah.
Mr. President, if you look at the back at the last week, it's been extraordinary in terms of the action in the Middle East. You were at The Hague.
Yeah. I'm wondering now, hell of a week, hasn't it?
I'm wondering now if you action in the Middle East. You were at The Hague. I'm wondering
hell of a week, hasn't it?
I'm wondering now.
It's been a crazy week. He's right. Crazy fucking week.
If you believe that Iran, I'm wondering now, sir, if you believe that Iran has given up its long history of ambitions with nuclear weapons, or what you would like to see from them
temporarily to
prove that they do, and what type of meetings is your administration looking for next week with Iran?
I doubt that.
So Iran wants to meet. As you know, their sites were obliterated. They're very evil nuclear sites. They were now has been proven. We had some fake news for a little while. The same people.
Sure did. Sure fucking did. People rooting for the terrorists supporting Iranian government. Insane.
That covered the Hunter Biden laptop was from Russia. The same people that did 3 or 4 other Russia hoax.
But on their
no, wait, just listen. They came up with something that delayed the credit that our great pilots and these great what talent that was, and they hit it right down in the spot. 52,000 feet. Think of this dark, no moon, you couldn't see a thing, and they hit the refrigerator door, as they say. That's the size of a target, and overwhelmingly, and it's amazing what was done. We're the only ones that could have done it, and we took out the 2 of the other sites also. In addition to that, we finished them all. That was a very evil intention. I believe that, and again, time will tell, but I don't believe that they're going to go back into nuclear anytime soon. They spent over $1 trillion on nuclear.
Of course they're not going to. Everybody who was advocating for it is dead, and they blew up the sites, and everything's destroyed after they invested probably hundreds of millions of dollars into it. And it's like, if Trump bombed them once, he's obviously going to do it again. So why would they do it? Now, they might do it if we get a Democrat president or a president that doesn't have the same type of, it's not as definitive as Trump. Then, yeah, you might see them try to rebuild after that. But they're probably not going to be rebuilding anytime soon. I wouldn't expect that at all.
Never got it together. And nothing was moved from the site, by the way. To do that is very dangerous. It's very, very heavy material.
But Donald, didn't you see the satellite photos that were on Twitter? Wait a minute. Well, what about all the trucks? Donald, didn't you see this thing that was on the satellite photo that's publicly being circulated? Like, doesn't this disprove the Mossad and the CIA's intelligence briefings?
Cars were most likely the cars of Masons because they were pouring concrete at the top, at the hatch, as you know, the hatch going into the nuclear site. They wanted to reinforce it, and they had some Masons there pouring concrete. By the way, that concrete was obliterated. It hit exactly at the concrete. It was, I don't think it had a chance to dry, but everything's down there. It's under millions of tons of rock. Please. Yes.
Your administration has said that El Salvador is one of the safest countries in the hemisphere.
It is.
So why haven't you yet canceled temporary protected status for that country? Was it part of the deal?
Well, we'll take a look. We've had a great relationship with El Salvador. They have a fantastic leader.
They're great.
They built a massive prison system.
Isn't it crazy how much all the problems go away whenever you just put all the people that cause problems in jail? That's crazy, right? It just worked that well. Wow.
And I don't know exactly why, but it's a hell of a system. And we bring people.
There is a huge problem in education. I feel sorry for your lack of criticism. Very few good news in the future. Yeah, we do have a problem with education. And one of those problems is that we're teaching kids about transgenderism instead of, understanding science or World War II. Or understanding AI. We should be teaching kids technology. We should be making them and preparing them. Like, you should. I wonder what's more important for a kid to understand: transgenderism or accounting.
People there, and when they go there, they don't get out.
I wonder.
And frankly, when they hear they have to go there, they become very nice people. They become very nice people. It's a tough system, but it's a brilliant system, and it's a system done by a very good leader. We'll talk about El Salvador. A lot of respect.
Yeah, please. Thank you. A question for you, and then a question for the Attorney General. As you go into negotiations and talks with Iran, are you demanding not only that there would be no uranium production inside of Iran, but also that Iran would turn over all existing stockpiles of uranium?
Well, we're a little early for that, but something like that, yeah, we'll do something like that. Let me say that I've been saying for 25 years, even as a civilian, you cannot let them have a nuclear weapon. And that's what happened. It's been obliterated. It would be years before they could ever get going. And I really think it's probably the last thing. They have to recover from a hell of a tough war.
Would you also be demanding that the IAEA have full rights to inspect in Iran?
Or somebody, or somebody that we respect, including ourselves.
And a question for both the President and the Attorney General. Under birthright citizenship, if this is implemented, who would be tasked with actually vetting citizenship? And how, like, would this be a situation where you have nurses and doctors checking for citizenship of parents, or?
This is all pending litigation. It's going to be decided in October by the Supreme Court, and we'll
you have to have on the birth certificate who the parents are, and if one of the parents is a citizen, then it would go into the, like, how is this even a conversation? Any basic database would be able to immediately aggregate this without even a second. Yeah, it would be instantaneous.
That after the litigation.
If you have an undocumented baby, would that baby then be an enforcement priority?
The violent criminals in our country are the priority now. Let me put it in perspective. Today marked the 2,711th arrest in our country of TDA members. Just TDA. Everyone in this
room. How did they have 2,000 members in America? That's insane.
Agrees. They are one of the most violent criminal organizations in the world. And the Biden administration let them walk into our country for the last 4 years. 2,711 of them today have been arrested in our country. That is the priority of Donald Trump. That is the priority of this country, of Homeland Security, of all of our lawyers, of FBI. That's the priority. That will be discussed in October when the Supreme Court hopefully rules in our favor, and we're very confident of that. But you should all feel safer now that President Trump can deport all of these gangs, and not one.
How about a fake parency issue? This can be sold as a service. Yeah, I'm sure there's always going to be exploits and people trying to take advantage of a system, but just because there's people taking advantage of a system doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to make a good faith effort in order to make the system fair and equitable and work properly. Like, every system is manipulated and gamed in different ways.
District court judge can think they're an emperor over this administration and his executive powers and why the people of the United States elected him.
I just might add one thing, and they used birthright citizenship, some of the worst people, some of the cartels, to get people into our country, just so you know. And again, I say, if you look at the end of the Civil War, the 1800s, it was a very turbulent time. If you take the end day, was it 1869 or whatever? But you take that exact day, that's when the case was filed.
Yeah.
And the case ended shortly thereafter. This has to do with the babies of slaves, very, very obviously. And I think we're going to win. People I don't think they went about discussing it right. I came along and we looked and we said, wait a minute, this is wrong. We've been looking at birthright citizenship wrong for years, but they've used it. The cartels have used birthright citizenship.
It's shocking that this was even a conversation ever.
To get very bad people in, and what Pam's doing and what Todd and everybody else, what they're doing at DOJ and all over, FBI, ICE, Border Patrol, these are incredible people. They're trying to keep our country safe, and they don't want to have people come in. This is just another way that they get illegal immigrants into our...
They need to stop responding to the questions about deportations with, quote, violent criminals are the priority. Stop avoiding the question. How hard is it to say the baby or child will be deported alongside the parent and separation will no longer be a concern? I agree with you, by the way. I completely agree with you. I think just lay it out there. Say, yeah, we don't give a fuck if we're going to deport the kid. That's what's going to happen. That's what I support. That's what I think they should do. And I think that pussyfooting around it only emboldens these people to try to use more emotional control. It's bad optics. The optics of it don't matter. And I think also the entire idea of optics is something that the people that care about optics are usually the ones that can manipulate them. So the entire idea, like this is some kind of unpopular opinion, is crazy. It's not even an unpopular opinion. You can't be nice about it. You need at least a parent in orphanage. Yeah, sure, right? People looking at the optics are the literal loophole these motherfuckers are waiting for. The question was about priority, though. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's more of a priority to deport a gang member than a 5-year-old. But like in general, they shouldn't be here. I mean, it's that simple. I don't understand. Like it's all again, it's all just emotional manipulation and emotional blackmail. The reality is that in any other instance where a parent commits a crime, they're separated from their child in order to be punished from that crime. So to act like this is some kind of unique evil is ridiculous. If you kill somebody and you go to jail, the kid doesn't go to jail with you. That's it. I mean, it's the USA is trying so hard to play optics instead of caring. Yeah.
Into our country, and in some cases, very, very bad ones. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your tax bill, if I could for a moment, senators are racing to rewrite parts of it right now after the Senate parliamentarian ruled that sections of it were outside of the process that they're using to get this through. Sure. Do you think that senators should...
But you're saying to deport the kids too? Yeah, if the kids came here at like 5 years old and they're like 10 or something like that, they're an illegal alien and they should be deported. No exceptions. Yeah. Straight up. That's so fucked? No, it's not. Why is that fucked? They're not citizens of the country. We should just let them be here? Why? That's ridiculous. It's common sense. Any country would do this. It's not their fault. So what? Then the parents should have exercised better decision making. If you don't want your kid to be in a bad situation, then don't put your kid in a bad situation. It's not our responsibility for making up for parents that want to try to emotionally blackmail a country by taking advantage of it. It's ridiculous.
Respect the decisions of the parliamentarian, and what have you personally done in the last 48 hours to try and get Republican senators who are against the bill to a yes?
Well, look, it's a great bill. It's a massive tax cut. If it's not approved, your taxes will go up by 68%. Think of that, 68, a record, the highest in the history. The Democrats won't approve it only because politically it's so good for the Republicans. The Democrats aren't approving it. But think of what they're not approving. They're not approving border security. We've done a great job at the border, but we have to add some wall. We have to do various things. We have
if your close friend had a kid, would you tell him to deport their baby? You're making an emotional argument. You're making you're not making a decision based off of whether something is a good idea or not. You want me to make a decision based off of whether it would personally affect me or not. It's always emotional. Yeah, that's not a logical way to go about things. Again, it's a bad faith. It's just emotional blackmail. Almost all of these positions immediately evaporate the moment that you don't give in to emotional blackmail.
Money for that. We have no money for the border. We have no money for so many things. But if the Democrats, it'd be interesting to see if we get any Democrat votes. We should. If I were a Democrat, I would absolutely, maybe Fetterman, because he seems to be the most sensible one lately. If I were a Democrat, I would vote for this bill all day long because it's tax cuts and so many other things that are common sense. They're basic things. I think they're doing fine. The parliamentarian's been a little difficult. And I would say that I disagree with the parliamentarian on some things, and on other ways he's been fine. But we'll have to see. It's a big issue. I will tell you this: if that bill doesn't pass, the country will get a 68% tax increase. So think of this: you're a Democrat and you vote against it. That means you're voting in favor, because essentially you're voting in favor of the largest tax hike in the history of our country. And you can't do that.
People are arguing against this, or saying that argue to keep the families together. They're contradicting their own arguments. No, their argument is that these are people who are motivated and that think entirely in the context of how things make them feel, and not in terms of like logical argumentation. So you should never really even, you should not assume that they are coming to this conclusion from any sort of like a reasonable perspective. This is not a reasonable perspective to have at all. None of it makes sense. Those are people who are empathetic. So one thing that a lot of people, and this is the big problem with empathy, is that a lot of people's empathy turns out to hurt other people. And I think this is probably one of the biggest modern problems that we have, is that the basically like people's performative empathy ends up creating problems for other people instead of the people that they're being empathetic towards. So they're basically trying to make themselves feel good by helping one group of people, but in the process of that, they're hurting another group of people instead. So I view it as like concentric circles. And so obviously it's good to have empathy for everyone, but you should prioritize people in your country first. And so whenever you make a decision based off of those concentric circles that we all know to be true, like, you'd be more likely to make a decision in the best interest of your parent more than maybe a friend, you would hope, right? And more in the interest of a friend than an acquaintance, and more in the interest of an acquaintance than a stranger. And so all of this exists in kind of a logic. There's like a logical structure of this that everybody acknowledges to be true on a personal level, but the moment that you extrapolate this to a group level, somehow we're supposed to pretend like it doesn't exist. I don't think that's a good way of looking at things. And I know that, like, for me, a lot of people that talk about this, like they try to worry about the optics. I don't mince my words about it at all. I think that if you come here and have a kid, I think the entire family should get deported, period. That's it. No exceptions, no, but what abouts, no, but it's bad over there. I literally don't care, even for, like, it's not even 1%. And it's not because I don't care about them. It's that I care about the people here more. And I want to do what's in their best interest. And when I allow people to exploit my systems, to exploit my country, to take advantage of it at the expense of other people, what I'm effectively doing is I am weaponizing my empathy to make myself feel good at the expense of people who should be, my countrymen. And I think that's the wrong perspective to have. I think it's very unfair. And a lot of people, this is a big problem with leadership. It's a big problem with decision making. And this is why anytime somebody is a huge asshole, I'm usually a big fan of them, because I think to myself, maybe we'll finally have somebody who's willing to do what it takes. Because a lot of times there are, like, in life, there are a lot of trolley problems where you're choosing a lesser evil or a greater evil. And the people who are afraid of that end up allowing both evils to happen. Or they end up choosing the greater evil, but because the lesser evil is more immediate. We need Arthas. Arthas was completely right in Strathlum. He did nothing wrong. If Uther and Jaina had helped him kill all of the people there, like he should have, he made a decision that only a king could make. And if it wasn't for him, we would still be in Lordaeron. I might still be playing World of Warcraft. The Lich King would have never happened, and it would have never been a problem. A lot of people are afraid of doing a bad thing because they can't see the greater good that bad thing will achieve.
In addition, we're cutting costs.
In my opinion, I think that's a weakness in leadership, and a person who's not able to exercise that vision should not be in a leadership position. How many of you guys have been a victim of a person in a leadership position who thought that it would be okay to give a person an extra chance, even though they were a bad actor, and then that person ended up negatively affecting you or your team members or someone around you? That's the type of emotional indulgence and performative altruism and selfish altruism that I think is so prevalent nowadays. When you're a leader, when you're responsible for other people's well-being, you have to act in their best interest at all times. And if you're not acting in their best interest, you're betraying them. And you're betraying the people that elected you. They put their trust in you. They put their hope in you to take those hopes and those dreams and turn them into a reality. And it's more important for you to think that you're a good person. I think that's a complete betrayal. I understand that my morality for this is not necessarily the same as everybody else's, but I believe that this is the correct view of the world. What conditions of America to be able to let immigrants illegally enter without being a huge detriment to America? I don't know. Who cares? Why are you even thinking about immigrants? I don't care about immigrants. I care about Americans. I'm an American. I don't care about some guy that's in South America. That's not my problem. Why am I even thinking about this? Like, really, like, it's outrageous. Like, what are you even thinking? It's crazy. Focusing on shit themselves. Start by helping your community first. Yes, exactly. That's what Hitler said about Germany. No, it's not. Hitler was thinking about Poland. What a stupid thing to say. You don't even know what you're talking about.
By $1.7 trillion, and it won't affect anybody. It's just fraud, waste, and abuse.
Mr. President, a leading global economist just did a 180 and says your tariff plan, you may have outsmarted everybody with it. Oh. What is your message?
Oh my God. Bro.
Mr. President, a leading global economist just did a 180 and says your tariff plan, you may have outsmarted everybody with it. Oh. What is your message?
Okay.
I love this. I love this question. This is the favorite. This is the best question I've ever been asked because I've been going through abuse for years on this.
Yeah.
Because as you know, we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars, no inflation.
I love how everybody said that the tariffs were like. Remember the messaging that tariffs were actually just a tax on the American consumer. I don't know how that messaging was so strong. Because if the tariffs were just Trump kicking Americans in the dick, then why did every country respond by kicking themselves in the dick too? Oh, you're kicking yourself in the dick. I can do it even harder than you can. Watch this. Because it is. No, it's completely illogical. Reddit economists? Yes, clearly.
But, Mr. President, what is your message to critics who think your tariff plan will cause a recession?
I think they should go back to business school. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. I mean, we're taking in billions and billions of dollars from China and a lot of other countries. We took in. I had a call from somebody in the House and a high official. Sir, we have a problem. We don't know what to do. The books are a mess. I said, what do you mean by the books? The books, the money coming in. It's so terrible. I figured, oh boy, what's this? I don't like this question. I said, so what seems, there's so much money coming in and there must be some kind of an accounting mistake. Because we have.
He's literally saying there's just too much money. Oh my fucking God. Bro.
Hundreds of billions of dollars more money than we thought. I said, do me a favor, go check call me back. You have to call me back. Check the tariff column. Calls me back 2 hours later, says, you're right. We took in $88 billion in tariffs. Jesus. They have so much money coming in. But more important than the money coming in, we have companies coming in, factories coming in, auto plants being built. AI is being built here instead of being built all over.
That's the big long-term investment, is making sure that you centralize AI and automated development inside of America for by the time that automation fully takes over, you have control over those methods of creation.
Over Europe
Super
and Asia.
Important.
We have all of it. We have over $15 trillion, just about, Scott. I think we're right at about that number. We went to Saudi Arabia. We went to Qatar. We went to UAE. Very smart people, very smart leaders.
He obviously went there in order to make those deals because he knew that Iran was on the precipice of causing problems. He established strategic business relationships with those other countries, which gave him the go-ahead to attack and isolate Iran, and he did. That's 100% what, like, and by the way, he, like, that Operation Midnight Hammer where they bombed the those nuclear facilities, that was wargamed by Biden. He had this in his back pocket, and it's not even his fault. Like, they set him up to win. All he did is play the cards the right way.
Great leaders, and we took in $5.1 trillion.
What I'm saying is, like, this is like, yes, he was smart to do this. It was a good decision to do this. But this is, it's not quantum 7-dimensional chess. It's just a smart, prudent, good decision.
there. Without the tariffs, I mean, they also liked a thing called November 5th, November 6th, and November 7th. That was a very good little period of time. It's called the presidential election.
That's when he won.
You know, you used to have one-day election. Now you have it go over it. But even if you just took that little period, because it was pretty obvious it was going to be a landslide. And they like that, but they love the tariffs. I had Texas Instruments come in the other day, big company.
Calculators.
And he said, we're putting in $60 billion into new plants and new equipment, new everything. Sir, you're going to keep the tariffs, aren't you? Because if I ever took the tariffs off, and we are going to absolutely keep it. And they're worried that somebody that, like this communist from New York, someday gets elected. I can't believe that's happening. That's a terrible thing for our country, by the way.
Oh,
he's a communist. We're going to go to a communistic state. That's so bad for New York. But the rest of the country is...
Well, they get what they deserve. They voted for him. If they want to be represented by a clown, then let them do it. The Democrats should have thought of that before they put a bunch of people up there that were simps for Israel. If you want to beat communism, come up with better ideas.
Revolting against
That's what I think.
But if somebody got elected, they're afraid that if this was taken off, well, we're going to guarantee it's never going to be taken off. And again, we're taking in hundreds. Think of this.
You don't understand? They'll remove the citizenship of them? If they can do it, then they can do it, right? I mean, like, I don't want to have Zohan Mandami. I don't want to have his citizenship revoked for no reason. If they have a reason to do it, then yeah, sure, of course they can do it. But, like, I think that if they revoke his citizenship, you're fixing a symptom and not the disease. Ultimately, the real problem isn't Mandami. And I apologize if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. The problem is that there are people that voted for him. That's the actual problem. So if you get rid of him, there's going to be another him afterwards.
Hundreds of billions of dollars.
You have to fix the disease.
And they were all confused because they've never seen this before. You know, it's always the other way. We don't have enough money. So much money is coming in at levels that nobody's ever seen. But most importantly, we have factories being built, companies moving to our country like never before. If you look at $15 trillion, and that's only in a few months. You know, I haven't been here that long. Presidents like the last one was a disaster. He's the worst president in the history of our country, by the way. What he did.
Is he the worst? Is Biden the worst president? I did see, I mean, there was a video.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we had to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
Jesus, man.
Separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where they're 40%.
Somebody in the chat said Lincoln was worse than Biden. Bro, can you... Y'all are actually going to... Like, y'all are really trying to get me in trouble. Fucking stop. Fucking stop.
Fewer people coming across the border illegally. It's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
He was taking...
I mean, he'd definitely probably be in the top 5. That was pretty bad. 1 year since that day. Isn't that crazy?
On our border can never, ever be forgotten. To me, that's the worst of all the
Top
things.
3?
And he's done some terrible things. Grossly incompetent. Nobody knew it was him because I don't think it was him.
They did, and I think that should be acknowledged. Biden, you know, as I said, I don't like a lot of things Biden has said and done, but he's been a public servant, dedicated his entire life to America. And to be, like wheeled out like a fucking corpse, and it's elder abuse, really. And it was completely disgraceful. Totally disgraceful.
I think it was whoever was controlling the auto pen. But our country is doing great. And those leaders and other leaders, I just left, as you know, a large group of the most highly respected people. And that includes big countries. When you look at Germany and France and Spain, although Spain didn't come through, but they will. By the way, guaranteed they will. That was the only country that sort of tried to hold back on putting up the money.
They weren't putting up the money for NATO.
But just so you know, they said, it's unbelievable what's happened to the USA. You were a dead country. We didn't respect the country, the leader.
He did say that, didn't
you
he?
were dead as a doornail. One said to me, you went from being a dead country, you are right now the hottest country anywhere in the world. The whole world is talking about the USA, and everybody wants a part of it, and they're pouring into our country, and you're going to see those numbers. Thank you for that question. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question about trade. Secretary Bessent has said that he hopes tariff deals with major partners will be done by Labor Day. So if some deals are not done by your July 9th deadline, will some countries' tariffs go back up, or will they stay where they are?
Well, there are some countries that are used to ripping us off, to be honest with you, and I don't want to name them, but you sort of can name them. And they're so used to just, taking it billions and billions of. Look, we had a trade deficit of more than $1 trillion.
Do you really hate Jews?
A trade deficit.
What?
That's because nobody cared.
I thought I was a Zionist.
We cared a lot when
According
I
to
took
Twitter.
in
Now I hate
hundreds of
Jews?
billions of dollars in tariff.
I
We had the
can't keep
greatest
up.
economy in history up until now. I think we're going to blow it away. But during my time, and especially prior to COVID, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. I think we're going to blow it away now based on the kind of numbers that we're seeing. But some countries are very angry because they've been ripping us off for years. They've been making billions and billions of dollars. There was nobody to negotiate with. They could do whatever they want. They charged us tariffs, by the way, at numbers that we've never seen before. And we ended up losing much more than $1 trillion a year. $1 trillion a year on trade. And now they're being met with a force that's far greater than them, and they don't like it. So they're upset because instead of making, $5 billion, they're going to break even. Or they'll make a little bit. I want to be nice. They'll make a little bit. Or we'll make a little bit. It's a big difference. Yeah, please go. Go ahead. Red dress.
Nazi Zionist. I'm a Nazi Zionist Jew that hates Jews.
Is there any information on the special prosecutor?
Clearly.
So many Americans still have questions about the 2020 election. And speaking of rogue judges, would you consider appointing somebody at DOJ maybe to investigate the judges that allowed for the political persecution of you, your family, and your supporters during the Biden administration?
Wow.
I love you. Who are you?
Holy shit.
Family and your supporters during the Biden administration?
I love you. Who are you?
Right. I'm Farrah from Lindell TV.
Well, that's just a very nice question.
Wait, Lindell,
is that
who
setup? I have no idea who you are, but I appreciate that question.
Wait, is that what I think it is?
All I can say is we're not here for that. I hope so. I hope they're doing a thing because that election was rigged and stolen, and we can't allow that to happen. A lot of people tell me, sir, you just won the greatest election in the history of our country. You won it numbers that won all 7 swing states, won the popular vote, won everything. Sir, go on with your life. And many people that say that, good people, friends of mine, then you have people that say that same thing, go on with your life, but you have to find out what happened because you can't let that happen again. Look at what
I don't think the 2020 election was rigged. I don't. I mean, I expected Trump to lose by more personally, but I think they should investigate it if they have evidence. I mean, I'm not. And this is the difference, right, between me and other people is that when I believe something, I would want that thing to be put up to scrutiny and evidence. Like I'm not emotionally attached to this outcome. I don't think it was rigged, right? But like if they have evidence for it, then I want to see it. There is evidence, and then let's see it. Let's see it, get it out there, investigate it, let's figure it out. Because I haven't seen enough to where it's proved to me. They literally looked so hard for evidence and found none versus the preponderance of evidence that they lost all of them. Yeah, I don't know, but like that's my opinion. But if they have evidence, they should look at it, of course.
Lunatic
it's just
did.
my own belief.
Look at what he did. He opened our borders to people that were murderers. 11,888 to be exact murderers. And we've captured many of those murderers.
Gotta catch them all.
And we're bringing them back, or some of them are so dangerous that we don't even want to bring them back. We're afraid they're going to try and come back in.
True.
But he allowed people to come into this country, people from mental institutions, insane asylums. That's a mental institution on steroids. People from
mental. They need to bring those back, and they need to put all the people that I disagree with in mental institutions. I would really, really like to see that happen. Like everybody that I don't like, I want to put in an institution.
Institutions, gang members, drug dealers, people, jails being emptied out into our country. Venezuela emptied out almost its entire prison population into our country. But I don't want to blame them. Many countries have done that. The Congo, we have a great press conference coming up later. And it's the Congo.
Alligator
and
remember me about that after this.
They were fighting for years, and it was machetes. It was vicious. It was as vicious. People's heads being chopped off.
Machetes?
And I have a man who's very good in that part of the world, very smart, and put them together. And we're signing a peace treaty today. First time in many years they're going to have peace. And
30
it's a big deal. We talk about Russia, and we're working that one. President Putin called up and he said, I'd love to help you with Iran. I said, do me a favor. I'll handle Iran. Help me with Russia. We got to get that one settled. And I think something's going to happen there. But we did some great work. India and Pakistan. That was going to be maybe nuclear. We did that. Yep. We did a lot of work. I don't know if there's ever been a president that's done much more. Serbia, Kosovo was going to go at it. Going to be a big war. I said, you go at it. There's no trade with the United States. They said, well, maybe we won't go at it. That's what happened with India and Pakistan.
Joining our team?
I was negotiating with both of them.
I mean, he probably doesn't want to have the sanctions been on Russia for like 3 years, right? It's obviously fucking up their economy. They don't want the sanctions. It's like, I think that he's in a position where it's like he can't back out of the war because of like his position in the country. But I think probably if you asked him privately, if you could back out of the war with no repercussions, I bet he'd say yeah. I'm guessing, right? But like, I think that it's damaged Russia's reputation. It's probably cost them a massive amount of money. I think it's made them look weak, and I think it's also damaged their relations internationally. I think it's just been a complete L for Russia. Now, obviously, he can't probably do that publicly because of his position. But I think that privately, that's probably what he thinks. Like, if you give him an out, I think he'll probably take the out.
And I said to Scott, I said to Howard, cancel all deals with India and Pakistan. Hopefully. They're not trading with us because they're in a war. They called back, what do we do? I said, look, you want to have trade with the...
Somebody says Putin wants the war to restore Russian spirit. He wants it to go on. You're wrong. Yeah, but what I'm saying is like, okay, let's assume that you're right with that analysis. I think that it's achieved the opposite. I think that it's damaged the Russian spirit, and I think it's probably demoralized a lot of Russians. I think so. I think it's negatively affected their economy. I think it's also negatively affected the way that, like, because Russia, like, this is, I mean, I don't know about me, but like, or about you, but like, I thought they were going to roll over Ukraine in a week. Ukraine has fought back in such a heroic way. And of course, they've done so because of the EU and also the U.S. helping them. It's not like they're soloing Russia, but they've still held the line. And I think that's made Russia look weak. Personally, I think it has. I know people might not see it the way I do, but that's the way I see it. So I think it's achieved the opposite effect. But, you know, again, it's up for debate. I'm sure some Russians would disagree with me. Do all of them disagree with me? How many of them? I don't know.
United States, it's great. But you want to go and start using nuclear weapons on each other? We're not going to allow that. And they both agreed. Yep. Both have great leaders. They both agreed not to do it. So we did a lot, but I appreciate that question.
Sir, on peace deals, can I follow up with you? Sir, can I follow up with peace deals?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr.
Orange.
President. Thank you, Mr. President.
Miss Orange.
I was just speaking with Senator Ron Johnson on the One Big Beautiful Bill, and he says he really wants to get to yes for you and get this accomplished.
He does. He's a good man.
But he also said that he needs more time, and he is not certain that the July 4th deadline is possible.
Well, then he's not such a good man.
Because there's too much work to do.
He's a good man. Ron Johnson's doing a good job. He's very committed. Every Republican senator is committed. And, you know, you could have a couple of grandstanders, in all fairness. You could have somebody else. And it's very dangerous because our country would go from being the most successful country in the world to who knows what happens with a 68%, think of it, 68% tax increase. That was given by the Democrats because they like high taxes. I don't know what happened. You know, all my life, I'd grow up and I'd watch politicians talking. I'd say, oh, that's fun. And they were always saying, we will cut your taxes. We will cut your tax. I never heard it. They say, we will raise your taxes. And they elect people like this guy in New York that maybe has a chance. I find it hard to believe, but he maybe has a chance. They want to raise your taxes. So they want to see a 68% tax increase. That's more money than anybody could afford. You'd go into a depression.
Yeah, if you don't want to have a Muslim communist win the election, if you're a Democrat, maybe you shouldn't have run a bunch of Israel simps. Maybe you shouldn't have done that. It's like these people look and blame everything except for themselves. Has it ever occurred to you that the reason why you're losing is actually your fault? Socialist, not communist. I'm using the words they're using.
If that ever happened. So I think there's a lot of pressure to get that approved.
President Trump, they never reflect.
How important is the July 4th deadline to you? If
it's important.
It's
got to be in August. It can go longer, but we'd like to get it done by that time, if possible. And look, we have a lot of very committed people, and they feel very strongly about a subjects that you're not even thinking about that are important to Republicans. The problem we have is that it's a great bill. It's a popular bill.
That doesn't sound
but
like
we get
a
no
problem.
Democrats only because they don't want to vote for Trump.
Oh,
If that bill was their bill, oh, they would be so happy. It's so great for our military. It's great for everything. And they would normally vote, but because their hatred of Trump, they have Trump derangement syndrome at levels never seen before. And instead of voting for a tax cut, they're voting for a tax increase of 68%. They're voting to destroy Social Security, destroy Medicare, and destroy Medicaid.
It's real bad.
And we're voting to make them perfect and to make them better, make them stronger and better. They're going to destroy Medicaid, and they're going to destroy Medicare, and Social Security will follow. If you vote for the Democrats, you're dead on those three things.
Thank you, Mr. President. On a related subject, many Democrats have said that they are not going to support crypto bills in Congress only because of you and your family's personal crypto ventures. And these votes are in some cases needed to pass. Are you open to the idea of pulling away from your personal crypto ventures just for the next few years if that helps get these crypto bills passed in the next few years?
The only reason why they're not supporting them is because Sam Bankman-Fried isn't in the Democratic Party cutting them checks anymore. It has nothing to do with any sort of a principled stance on Donald Trump owning cryptocurrency. Like, what a bunch of bullshit.
Well, it's a very funny thing, crypto. So I became a fan of crypto, and to me it's an industry. I view it as an industry, and I'm president.
Sure it is.
And if we didn't have it, China would, or somebody else would, but most likely China. China would love to. And we've dominated that industry. It's a big industry, by the way. In fact, when the stock market went down recently, crypto and Bitcoin and all of that went down much less than anybody else as a group. And we've created a very powerful industry, and that's much more important than anything that we invest in. We invest in it, but really that was an industry.
It's a stupid thing to do. Like you're making a decision for everybody based off of like a personal bias against Trump. And I think Trump coin is a joke. I don't think I hate those meme coins. I wish Trump didn't do that. I thought it was so stupid that he did it. I totally am against it. But to like not even focus on like legislation because of that, that's just selfish.
That wasn't doing particularly well. I got involved with it a couple of years
Trump
ago.
coin to the moon?
And
Wait,
before
what?
before the second term, I got involved before I decided to run. I only decided to run because I saw what was happening, and Biden was incompetent, and the administration was crooked and incompetent. And I was in Bitcoin then, not knowing if I was going to do it a third time. So it's become amazing. I mean, it's the jobs that it produces. And I notice more and more you pay in Bitcoin. I mean, people are saying it takes a lot of pressure off the dollar.
Yeah.
And it's a great thing for our country. So I don't care about investing. You know, I have my
cryptocurrency is very good for a number of things. And I think especially as like an international currency that's not regulated through like traditional markets, crypto is extremely useful. And I think that's really the main reason, is that like something like Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, it's great for illegal shit. It is that now they can backtrace crypto. They can backtrace it, and they can figure it out. There's a few of them that it's a lot harder to, like Monero, etc. But in general, they can figure it out if they really, really try. But it is a lot harder to do. Sure, XMR. Yeah, XMR is another one.
Have kids and they invest in different things. They do believe in it. But I'm president, and what I did do there is build an industry that's very important. And you know, if we didn't have it, China would. Okay.
But that's the difference in why crypto succeeds and NFTs fail, is because crypto has a viable use case that is useful to a user, whereas NFTs don't have a use case that solve a problem. Crypto solves problems. NFTs are problems.
Go ahead. With the glasses, gentlemen, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, are you going to cut funds in the sanctuary states, like, for instance, California, that keep supporting?
He should cut all their funds. I think he should. If they're not willing to uphold federal laws, then they shouldn't be getting federal funds. Pretty simple. Seems like a fair trade to me.
And illegal immigration, and then these people work under
Yeah, we're giving
table.
them a hard time.
And also, in a foreign policy question.
I mean, they don't have a governor in California. They have a man that wants to give away everything to people that nobody's seen before. If we didn't go into Los Angeles with the military, which did a fantastic job, but if we didn't go into Los Angeles bringing in the National Guard, I would have brought the military if it was necessary, because you have to. We have the right to. That was another thing upheld by the Supreme Court. But if we didn't go in with the National Guard and be strong and tough, you wouldn't maybe have Los Angeles. It would be like the rest of California, the rest of Los Angeles. They lost 25,000 houses in a fire. They should have lost none. You know, I sent the water down. I had to break into their water
Please bring up the fucking smelt fish. Please bring it up.
supply, because they just refuse to do it. They're crazy. There's something wrong with them. They have plenty of water. They don't have droughts or anything. They have we let it come down from the Pacific Northwest. They routed all the water out into the Pacific Ocean for environmental reasons, okay? And now you have 25,000 houses, none of which would have burned down if you had the water. They didn't have water. They didn't have water for the fire pumps. They didn't have water in the sprinkler systems that people put in. So the answer is we're going to work with governors. We're going to work with radical left Democrats and Democrats. And we're going to make it good for everybody. We'll have to stop the crime in those, in the case of the cities, I think I can say just about all cities with heavy crime are run by Democrats.
It was very close.
Go ahead.
11 lies.
Yeah, with the glasses.
I'm with you.
Go ahead, yes. Yeah, no, the man behind you, yeah, please.
President Trump, Anthony Mashak from Anthony, Lebanon. I want to ask you regarding the threats posed by Iran's allies and proxies operating in the U.S. They were threatening your life. So what do you say about that? And regarding the Lebanon, because Hezbollah is as well part of Iran's allies, is there any time frame in Lebanon regarding disarming Hezbollah in Lebanon?
Yeah, Lebanon is a great place with brilliant people. You know, it was known for the professors and doctors and had an incredible history. And hopefully we can bring it back again. I just appointed a friend of mine who's Lebanese, and I didn't know he was Lebanese. I've known him for 20 years, very, very successful man. Well, and I just appointed him. And I said, why would you want that? Yeah. He said, because I was born there, I was raised there, I love it. I love it so much. I said, you know, it's very dangerous going to Lebanon as ambassador. And he said, That's what they say, but I don't care about danger. I mean, this is a guy that is just a very big business guy. He wants to give up his whole life to go to Lebanon because he believes in it so much. We're with Lebanon all the way. We'll try and straighten it out.
Oh, this is very good to see, and like empowering them to push back against what do you call it? Hezbollah is like a huge thing. This is something from 2 days ago. I didn't show this yesterday just because other things were happening. Lebanese TV host Walid Aboud to Hezbollah: leave us and take your weapons, your drones, your rockets, your mouthpieces. I know somebody's not going to like this. Your flags, your supreme leader, your Iran, and your resistance with you. The Middle East is waking up. So yeah, flag. I don't even think the flag. I don't think it's that great of a flag. I don't. I really don't think it's that great of a flag. I think the Saudi Arabia flag totally fucking blows it out of the water, and it's not even remotely close. It's way cooler. I think it's like it's a at best it's a B tier flag. Saudi flag's pretty epic. Yeah, it is. ISIS flag is. Yeah. The ISIS flag is better than the Hezbollah flag too. I think. Yeah, you're right. Anyway, so I mean, this is all obviously in Lebanese, but like I think it's the language they speak over there. I'm not 100% sure. I just guessed. But anyway, so more people over there. Like now that Iran is kind of like you cut the head off. Now all these like paramilitary groups is Arabic. Okay, I don't know, and yeah, and so this is great. This is an amazing thing, because now that they're not being funded and the people are empowered to fight back against them, and it's been shown that it's possible. This is a huge, amazing thing.
Threaten my life? Yeah, they have threatened. I get that throbbing feeling every once in a while.
Because again, keep in mind that like Americans aren't the victims of Hezbollah or Hamas, like Palestinians are, and Lebanese people are. They're the ones that are the real victims of these, like the people like the Houthis. Who are the victims of the Houthis? Like not America. Like, yeah, we've got to pay extra money for like the ships to go around. It's annoying. They captured a ship. That was stupid. But like the real people that are oppressed on a systematic daily level are Yemeni citizens.
Throbbing feeling, but you know what? That's okay.
Yeah.
This is a dangerous business. What I do is a dangerous business. You know, I tell the story of the car companies and different people in different professions. You have race car drivers as an example.
Yeah, what about
1/10 of 1% die. Bull riders, 1/10 of 1%. That's not a lot, but it's people die. When you're president, it's about 5%. If somebody would have told me that, maybe I wouldn't have run. Okay? This is a very dangerous profession. Yeah, please. By the way, so many questions. Should we keep this going, Pam? This is the opposite of Biden. Biden would take a half a question and he'd leave without answering it. Go ahead.
On Iran.
You tell me when it gets boring. Okay.
If Iran,
are you from Iran?
No, I'm not from Iran. I'm from the UK. But if the intelligence reports conclude that Iran can enrich uranium to a level that concerns you, would you consider bombing the country again?
Without question, absolutely.
And have you had any conversations?
Turned out to be unbelievable. But, you know, our incredible flyers and I call them the shots. These guys are unbelievable.
Can you guys believe that they tried to tone police them saying, shout out to our boys because there was a female pilot? And that was like an actual question yesterday. Like, thinking back on that, I can't even believe that happened. That was insane.
From 52,000 feet, they hit the equivalent of a refrigerator door. They actually hit it right in the center, so it's much smaller than that. And just bomb after bomb going deeper, blowing up. Incredible, incredible thing. I don't know if you heard the general. He was very impressive. Raisin Cane. You know, he's the one that beat ISIS for me. And he did it in a matter of weeks. And I was told
Isn't it crazy how, like, whenever you want to win a war, it's over in, like, a few weeks? And then whenever you want to make a lot of money, it's over in 20 years? That's really weird, isn't it? I wonder if there's a correlation there. Yeah, that's great. Wow.
It's going to take 4 or 5 years. And when I got this job, I always said, if I get this job, I'm going to put that guy as the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
And he did.
And Dan Kane, and he... when I heard his name was Raisin, his nickname is Raisin Kane. I said, you got to be kidding. So I liked him right from the beginning, but he knocked out ISIS in a time that nobody ever thought possible. And when this attack was completed and so successful, I said, now I know how you knocked out ISIS so quickly. But we have the best people, we have the best equipment in the world. You know, I rebuilt the military during my 4 years, during my other term. We have the best equipment in the world. The problem is we gave away, you know, a lot of it, but small, relatively speaking. We gave a lot of it away to Afghanistan. Shouldn't have happened. That just shows how incompetent they were. They gave all that equipment away, billions and billions of dollars worth. Shouldn't have happened. But that was small compared to what we have. Now we have a great military with great people. Okay. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, congratulations. A couple of very different questions. One is Rwanda, 1994. As you grew up in New York, we all knew how horrific those attacks were. Congratulations on that treaty. There are talks that perhaps...
That's going to take place today at 3 o'clock in the Oval Office. We're going to have a signing with Rwanda and the Congo.
Yeah, we watched that just a little bit ago, which is insane that happened. It's absolutely insane.
So I'm a little...
It says biggest idiot in the world, acting like a child and keeps telling himself that, and everybody about how great he is. Terrible. America should be ashamed. I understand that people might not like Trump, but I like the outcomes that Trump has created. I think that the fact that he ended the Rwanda-Congo, like, genocide, I think that's a good thing. And I think it's also good that he was able to, you know, like, de-escalate things with Iran and Israel. I think that was good too. So, I mean, I don't think you should really... You get really focused on a personality rather than actions. And I think it's a lot healthier and it's better for everybody to focus more on actions rather than people.
Out of my league in that one, because I didn't know...
You don't have to give somebody, you know, a blank check. Like, there are things that Trump's done that I've disagreed with, things that he's done that I've agreed with. I'm really happy he's doing this. I think it's great. But that doesn't mean that I'm, you know, I think his cryptocurrency thing was good. That's weird. Stop thinking in terms of that. It's unhealthy and it's not productive.
Much about it. I knew one thing. They were going at it for many years and with machetes. It is one of the worst wars that anyone's ever seen. And I just happened to have somebody that was able to get it settled. I mean, just a brilliant person who is very comfortable in that part of the world. It's a very dangerous part of the world. I said, are you uncomfortable there? People are being killed. School children are being raided and killed. And I don't even want to say how, but as viciously as I've ever heard.
How is it in America's best interest and a genocide between two irrelevant countries? Because one of the so the ending of the genocide is, I think that it's precipitated by a trade deal that will allow America to take advantage of some of the rare earth materials and minerals in that area, which will be better for America's interests in the long term. And it will also simultaneously stabilize the region. And it also creates a second order effect of having less migration into not only Europe, right, but also America from different refugees and migrants that are trying to escape the genocide that's happening in their country. So, you know, like, and I see what you're saying, and I agree with you. I think you're making a good point. That, like, yeah, I think we need to worry about, you know, veterans here more. We need to worry about homeless people here more. We need to worry about, I think, honestly, the biggest issue right now that nobody talks about is childcare. I think it's, and incentives for people to have kids in America. That right now is, I think, one of our biggest weaknesses. And I wish J.D. Vance, he seems like he's a pretty big advocate of that. I wish he'd take more of a direct position on that. And hopefully after all these wars are settled up, or at least kind of, you know, on maintenance mode, they can do that. We cannot take care of the world's refugees. Well, one way to avoid having to take care of the world's refugees is to create situations where they never leave. Like, you know, there's two ways to stop refugees. Stop them from leaving and stop them from coming. I think you should try both.
Are you uncomfortable? No, that's the part of the world that I know. Very comfortable. Was able to get them together and sell it. And not only that, we're getting for the United States a lot of the mineral rights from the Congo as part of it. They're so honored to be here.
He just said it.
They never thought they'd be coming to. Look,
yeah, it's obvious. That's the reason. Trump's strategy is peace through trade, and he's leveraging the United States economic advantage as a carrot in order to make people that's the carrot in order to make people, you know, come to the table. And if that doesn't work, he also has the stick. That's whenever the pixels in the sky disappear.
This is a very tough part of the world. They never thought, they were just telling me, they never thought they'd ever be coming to the White House, and they're so honored. And so we're going to give them a great big reception. But that's after many years of fighting. It's a great thing. That's at 3 o'clock, I believe.
Sir, are you concerned at all about secret nuclear sites in Iran? You talk about maybe just
secret nuclear sites?
Yes, there might be some.
Not really. Can I tell you, they're exhausted. And Israel's exhausted too. And I dealt with both of them.
Like they could make a secret nuclear site, but they couldn't keep themselves away from getting murked by Mossad. Mossad was finding out what apartment building they lived in, and these people think that they can find a secret place to store enriched uranium that can be detected by satellites. How delusional.
Both wanted it settled, both of them.
Ridiculous.
And we did a great job, but they're exhausted. The last thing they're thinking about right now is nuclear. You know what they're thinking of? They're thinking about tomorrow, trying to live. It's such a mess. It's such a mess. The place was bombed to hell. And no, I'm not worried about it at all. And I'm putting out a little statement. I'm going to respond to the Ayatollah's statement yesterday that we won the war. Oh, God, we won the war.
Oh, God. I feel like that's exactly how he actually feels about it. Oh, God. What is this? Let him say it? Yeah, I think, in my opinion, let him say it.
Yesterday that we won the war. Oh, God, we won the war.
Yeah,
and
let
I
him
said, look,
say it.
You're
Sure.
a man of great faith, a man who's highly respected in his country. You have to tell the truth. You got beat to hell. And Israel was beat up too. They were both beat up. And it was a great time to end it. It was quick. They got the hate out. There was a lot of hate. A lot of hate. It would be great if they didn't have that hate. But the last thing they're thinking about is nuclear weapons right now. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Iris Tao with NTD Research Media with the Epoch Times. Thank you so much for doing this. It's very refreshing for all of us here,
It's a good
I believe,
group.
in this room.
It's refreshing.
Very refreshing. Yes, we have to have this, and for the
I understand what you mean.
So thank you so much for coming out here.
Other than Caroline's done a great job.
Yes.
You're referring to the past administration, not to Caroline, right?
Yes. Back to the ruling today, if you don't mind. So you have always talked about winning for the American people.
Right.
How do you think today's ruling will enable you to further deliver for American families and workers across the country, not only when it comes to immigration, but also when it comes to trade, energy? What actions are most eager to move forward
Well, I think
now?
taking power away from these absolutely crazy radical left judges is a tremendous. This is such a big
got
day.
a bunch of nutballs
This is
going
such
around.
a big day. It's like. It's sort of sad because we're doing the signing at 3 o'clock, and this may very well dominate the signing of a big war that was going on and really affecting the continent of. Think of it, the entire continent of Africa was being affected, and we're settling that war today, and this will probably be a headline. But this is a very big moment, and it gives power back to people that should have it, including Congress, including the presidency. And it only takes bad power away from judges. It really doesn't take power. It takes bad power, sick power, and unfair power. And it's really going to be, this is a very monumental decision. Yeah, please.
Nutball judges moonlighting as Reddit mods trying to moderate the president. Yep. and they just got demodded today by the admins. Too bad, huh?
On July 9th. Is that July 9th date set for tariffs to snap back, or could there be a...
We can do whatever we want. We could extend it. We could make it shorter. I'd like to make it shorter. I'd like to just send letters out to everybody. Congratulations, you're paying 25%. He doesn't want. He's a much nicer person than I am. Go ahead. Did you finish it up?
Who are you considering for the Federal Reserve then? And are you speeding up that process? I see Secretary.
Oh, he's terrible. He's terrible. I mean, I have a list of things. We're like 38 on the list.
Just sit and talk.
We pay,
shit.
Cameroon and different places are paying the same as us. Because, you have somebody sets a rate at 4% or 4.5%. It's hard to go out and say we should be paying 1% when you have your so-called experts doing that. And the sad part is, as per the question that you asked about tariffs, we've had the tariffs and we have less inflation than we had before. What we have is a hell of a lot more money, a hell of a lot more income, and we shouldn't be paying a rate like that. In other words, when we pay a rate, I'll tell you, each point is the equivalent of $300 billion. So if we had it down 3 points, because I think we should be at 1, you have Switzerland is at 0.25. In other words, 25% of 1%. And they're the number 1 right now. But we should be the number 1. And soon you're going to have, I think, you're going to have where the people will pay will pay, like we had a few years ago, where you put up money, you loan money, and I mean, you actually, instead of paying, you get paid. I love that. I don't know if it's any good, but I love it, where you put up money and you get paid. But we should be in a category, so we should be at the top of the list, not toward the bottom of the list.
I'm not really a big expert on this kind of stuff. I never really looked into the Federal Reserve and the interest rates. I just don't really. I'm not going to cosplay as somebody who really has an opinion on this.
We have a man who's not a smart man, and he probably has Trump derangement syndrome. And he's just not a smart person. What he's doing, though, is hurting us for years to come.
I don't think so.
Because if we borrow money at 2 points higher than we should be paying, that's $600 billion. Wouldn't you say those numbers are about right, Scott? So it's 2 points would be about 600, actually more than that, but about $600 billion, all because the guy doesn't want to lower the rates. Yeah. He's doing the service, a very disservice, and then he goes up and talks about, I'd like to see costs come down. He gets up and he does his little thing for 5 minutes, and he goes out and he goes back to the beach. He goes, I'd like to see costs come down. Well, he could lower the interest cost by $900 billion a year. All he has to do is lower rates. And everybody's saying, I was watching some of the business shows today, and they're saying, Trump's right. He should really be cutting. The country's doing well. We have no inflation. Now, despite him, we're doing great. But if we got the rates down, we would be a rocket ship. So I think that'll be it. And I just want to thank everybody. This is a really big day. We've had a big week. We've had a big week. We've had a lot of victories this week. NATO was a tremendous victory. The war was a tremendous. Look, we were talking about this for 30 years, about Iran being nuclear. And all I said is it will not be nuclear, and it's not going to be nuclear. And
it seems like it's not.
I want to give credit to a lot of people, and most importantly to our great military. Boy, they put out that fire. Once that happened, once those bombs got dropped, that war was over. That war was over. But I just want to compliment them. Incredible. The general and all of his generals. Pete Hegseth was great.
Nothing's nuclear. Everything's
now
computer.
I want to compliment Pam. A lot of genius went into this. People. If you don't say it exactly right, if the Supreme Court doesn't get it because it's incorrectly spoken about, and that happens, a lot of cases are lost because they don't say the right words. But I want to correct. She's going to go down as a great attorney general. I may change my mind about that. I don't know. Maybe someday I'll have to call and say I was only kidding. She's going to go down as a great attorney general. This was a tremendous win, and we've had tremendous wins, but this was a tremendous win today. So I just want to congratulate you and Todd and your whole staff, very brilliant people, and we can't forget John Sauer.
That's right.
Who is with, there's a medical emergency within his family, so he's taking care of that, and we said absolutely. So I just want to thank everybody very much. Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be tomorrow.
message to Jeff Bezos on his wedding weekend.
Jeff Bezos. What the fuck is he doing? Well, there it is. What a crazy fucking day, man. Oh my God. What a day. That's insane. How does all this happen in one day?